In the last 365 days, I went from videographer slash like content creator and grew into being a full-time director, shooting scripted content, budgets that are around $20,000 to $30,000 per film, and making movies like all the time with my friends, family members, and even just shooting by myself. And I wanted to talk about the strategy to how I got there in the span of a year. Before I dive in, I want to say the sponsor of this video, which is 4-Week Filmmaker. This is our 4-week filmmaking course. The doors close to enroll this Friday, and for the next 2 days only, it's gonna be 50% off. So if you've wanted to enroll, you've thought about it, you guys can go take a look at that. And I'll also have a clip from the course at the end of this video, which you guys can watch to get a bit of a glimpse of what our first module looks like. But with that said, I wanted to give you guys just a couple quick tips on how to get into film directing as a full-time career. First thing I realized is that the thing that was holding me back from becoming a filmmaker rather than just a content creator was starving artist syndrome. Creatives start realizing how lucrative this business can be as soon as a brand is put behind it, whether that's making like a commercial for some corporate company or doing a YouTube sponsorship. What that does is that dilutes the creative process. But the reason why this is so ingrained in the creative is because, as I'm sure you know, all you think about is that you're going to only get this gig and then that's it. And then you got to try and pay the bills and get to the next gig. And then you got to pay the bills and get to the next gig. What that ends up doing is you're just constantly being chased by not having money, and you're always going to be influenced by the money that comes your way, and therefore you're probably not going to be influenced by what got you into filmmaking in the first place. And that was really the thing that changed everything for me. I started thinking about what got me into filmmaking in the first place. And when I asked myself that, it wasn't doing commercials or branded content or shooting stuff for sponsors on YouTube. When I was growing up, I was super sick, and to get through the first 4 years of my life, which were in and out of hospitals consistently, I watched Joel Schumacher's Batman films. When I went down to the linchpin of why I do these things, I realized I was so off the tracks making movies. I just was doing it to make money, and that really wasn't satisfying me. Now I know we have to pay bills, and I'm still paying bills. I'm still doing client work and doing sponsor visit videos, as you know, on this YouTube channel. But in the last 365 days, I have really dialed in on making movies that I wanted to make, from doing a web series, feature film, 5 short films, documentary work, and continue to do commercial stuff. I also starred in my own short film that I shot by myself and shot a movie in 45 minutes for $0. And all of these things have accumulated to around 1 million views on the internet. All that's to say is, if you've wanted to do this as a business or want to see some sort of trajectory, it's totally possible. The next thing I wanted to bring up is, if the project doesn't make you grow, then don't go out and do it. So even if it's some corporate video or it's to get you some cash, see if there's a way you can learn something. Every film project that I've made within the last year was influenced by something I learned from doing YouTube videos, commercial work for a client, or doing documentary stuff, and I've blended it into my style of filmmaking. Then that's really what has changed how I make films this year. You actually don't have to make movies the way Hollywood tells you to make them or some guy on YouTube tells you to make them. You can just blend the styles to which you feel most comfortable with together, and you're gonna make stuff so long as you have a script or story to follow. And to give you guys some more insights on the strategies to which I use to make these stories, I've included this video from the course module 1. It talks about how to tell stories that are sellable to an audience. In this part of the course, I want to talk about ideas, coming up with realistic movies that we can make, and more importantly, an audience wants to see. We all want to go out and make those movies we daydream, but if there's no audience for them, then one, you're not going to get funding to make your film afterwards. No producer is going to come knocking on your door to then give you that feature film, and it's just going to live on your computer. So instead, let's reverse engineer, look at what movies and more importantly, stories work with audiences, how to fill seats at the movie theater, or how to gain views on the internet for that concept that you have in your head. First thing I want you to know is that if you're going into this process to become a profitable short filmmaker, then that's not going to happen. After making 20 plus short films that have gone to film festivals around the world, gained global distribution through DVD box sets, and gained over millions of views collectively, the sum of the profits those movies have made is under $1,000. This isn't to say you could get that dream distribution deal for your short film, but the room for profit is very small in short films. But here's why you should go out and make short films, and here's why I'm still making them today. Short films are a great calling card for your creativity, your vision, your directing, your storytelling, your voice. And they are the best business card. I would even say a feature film wouldn't be able to express your creativity as well as a short film, because not everyone has an hour and a half to see how you execute something. And that's the first thing I would say is whatever movie you want to go make sure it can express your vision somehow, your taste. And the best way to figure out your vision and taste is, one, to go out and make your movie, but two, is to use the formula that's connected to this video, part of the PDF. But before we dive into that, how do you make a movie you want to make? The filmmaker I'm going to reference is Christopher Nolan. When asked about how he got to make his original mind-bending blockbuster Inception, he said, just make the studio 3 Batman films. And this is him using the one for me, one for you method, making a movie that an audience wants to see and a film that scratches the itches of you as a creative. And at the end of the day, no matter what filmmaker or storyteller you talk to, they're all going to be trying to serve the same group of people, the audience. But no matter if you're writing your script in pre-production, production, or post-production, consistently you're going to be asking yourself, what will the audience think of this? And remember, a good story isn't enough. A great story is one that people want to see. Acclaimed writer Joseph Campbell has this really cool theory about stories, and the fact that most of us have deep down primitive stories that are woven into the fabric of our existence. This is why post-apocalyptic movies like Mad Max can resonate with audiences in Japan, or why movies like Star Wars can become cultural phenomenons around the world. No matter what our background, race, or ethnicity is, we all have stories that resonate with us, which leads to the next thing that Joseph Campbell brings up that's really important, which is the hero's journey, which I'm sure you've heard. But the most basic version of that is that the main character of a film or story needs to go on a journey where they go from their quiet, simple life to then doing something extraordinary by doing this journey, meeting the bad guy, going through a very difficult situation, maybe even near death, and then make it back home with their scars and wounds. This resonates so well with audiences is because we all want that experience, and life is that experience. We go through a series of challenges to gain some sort of knowledge or wisdom, and then try to bring it back home into our simpler life. And so this is why movies like The Hobbit, Star Wars, Fast and the Furious, you name it, have a similar story around it where a character must go do something and come back with that new wisdom. And if you're able to instill this, you're going to be like George Lucas, George Miller, or even Greta Gerwig when it comes to writing your next film. But this might feel like it's unoriginal, but the longer you start to stare at originality, you realize that unoriginality is actually the more successful metric. Audiences don't want to see something they've never fully experienced before. They want to see nuggets of things that they're familiar with blended into something new. You are the glue that stitches together 3 separate ideas together, which is the strategy I want to teach you. And this is the strategy that got me my first feature film funded by a Hollywood company. And this is the blending of 3, where you take 3 concepts and put it together. So in the PDF attached to this, we're going to go through it and talk about how to string these in one. This is to help you go in 2 directions. One, if you already have an idea that you want to get out there, use this as your reference point. Or if you want to come up with something you don't know what you want to make yet, this will help you with that. Whether it's the genre of YouTube videos or the genre of Netflix movies or movies that you see on the big screen, think of 2 genres that excite you creatively. This could be drama, documentary, horror, sci-fi, rom-com. In the second and third column, I want you to just put in some movies that are inspiring you. That could be Jurassic Park, The Dark Knight, and Dune, for example. And in the fourth column, I want you to put in a filmmaker or film that inspires you. So if you're having a hard time thinking about filmmakers or in their style, just put in like a film that inspires you. And now that you have these paired together in a sort of Mad Lib type style, we're going to explain our movie. It's going to be weird and clunky, but this is the starting process. My idea, and this is just an example, my idea is Jurassic Park told like Dune meets The Dark Knight in the style of a Denis Villeneuve film. Feels very weird and clunky, but if we were to dial this in even more, this is the formula I used for my short film Dead Rush that ended up catapulting me to get a feature film greenlit by a Hollywood company. My idea was a first-person film told like a music video meets The Walking Dead in the style of the film Victoria. Having previous successful films or just other films to reference can not only give your crew or maybe financier an idea of what you want to make, but it gives you a better idea. And with these foundations, then you can go onto a website like Shot Deck, start looking at those films that you like, and start stealing frames and references and building a deck around what you want your film to look like. This will help give you the visual language to then have a good reference point. And then I'd recommend even going on Spotify, typing in the soundtrack of those films, and start stealing what you want. What you're going to recognize is that you don't want all of these films put together. That's not going to make a good movie. But you might want the character development of, let's say, a Jurassic Park, the soundtrack of Dune, and the camera movement of a Denis Villeneuve film. When you pair those together, now all of a sudden it starts to make more sense. This is where having this visual reference, this lookbook, which you'll also have linked in this as a PDF, to start visualizing. And this is how I've been able to work with collaborators who I want to work with. Our short film Clementine used this exact strategy where I built a deck out for my movie. And because I didn't have many films on my resume to pitch to cinematographers or actors, I sent this deck over that had the soundtrack that I built off of Spotify and MusicBed, the visual references that I was trying to refer to for the film, and movies people could watch to get inspired. You don't want to go waste your time, money, or both on a project that isn't going to succeed. Here's my litmus test for creative pursuit. 1, does it satisfy me as a creative? Am I going to grow, explore something new, or scratch a niche that I've always had an urge to? Yes or no? The next question is, will an audience escape, grow, or be entertained when they see this? And then check off if it's yes or no. And then finally, look at these 2 questions. And if it is a yes for both, then absolutely stop what you're doing right now, go make that film. If it's a yes for one of them, then maybe you need some more time to work on it so that it satisfies both those things. And if it's a no for both, then don't go do the film. Overall, if we can start making the films that satisfy an audience and the creative, then all of a sudden we are making movies that are a double whammy, a fuck yeah project. We want to entertain an audience or educate them. And us as creatives, we want to grow and expand our palette. And if neither of those are being satisfied, then there's no reason to pursue it. Now, the final step I want to bring in is we've maybe got our concept figured out. We've realized that we want to go make it. Well, how is this film going to get seen? There's a couple avenues. There's online, which would be YouTube or Vimeo, and then there's the festival route. And the best way to figure out how to make a movie that's successful for either of those is to do market research. So check out YouTube, Vimeo, Film Freeway, and Short of the Week. YouTube, a little bit harder one to look at, but just if they're short films, start seeing what ones are bubbling up on popular channels, dove into the genre that you like. Omeletto is a great reference point just to see what movies gain good traction and good views. You can go look at Vimeo or Short of the Week and see what films are doing well right now. Short of the Week is like a higher caliber version of Vimeo staff picks, but just start looking at what movies are these curators picking out for their platforms. It's going to give you a good idea of what movies succeed online. And then the final one is looking at Film Freeway. If you haven't looked at Film Freeway, you can start an account today and go through the list of film festivals that are available. And what's going to happen is you're going to start understanding what is their genres that movie festivals are celebrating, what festivals are for free, and maybe I want to submit to this festival in a year or in 4 weeks. Then once you have that sort of ideal list cataloged, the genres that are succeeding, what is there an audience for, and what is the final platform showing, reverse engineer that and make your movie fit for those platforms. And you're not the only person doing this. Hollywood films make movies for the box office. They also make it for the streamer. They also make it for the DVD. And they also make it for advertisements, for the trailer. So if you can think about these things, you're going to be thinking like a real filmmaker and make movies that actually have an audience at the end of the day. And to go through this checklist, you can rinse and repeat it over and over again until you have the right thing by downloading that PDF below. And thanks for watching. Let's move on to the next section. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Finally, if you want to enroll in 4-Week Filmmaker, there is a link to it in the bottom. So you can go to cinematicacademy.ca. Again, 50% off is limited, and it'll only be there until June 14th. So that's this Friday. So go give it a gander. Absolutely love you guys. Have an amazing day. Peace out. Oh, also, if you're watching this after the course has been opened and all that stuff, you can still enroll in 4-Week Filmmaker and take a look at it. It's probably back at its original price if this is after June 14th. I'm sorry. You stay fresh. You're amazing. I'll see you guys later.